Imagine this. You're driving alone on a dark, deserted highway. The air is thick with silence, your headlights slicing through the night like a blade. Up ahead, a lone figure stands by the side of the road, thumb extended, eyes hollow yet pleading. Something inside you hesitates, but against your better judgment, you slow down and offer them a ride. They climb into the passenger seat, silent, distant. You glance at them in the rearview mirror, only to find that they've disappeared. No sound, no movement, no open door. Just an empty seat where they once sat. If that scenario sends a chill down your spine, you're not alone. Reports of vanishing hitchhikers have persisted for centuries, spanning cultures, continents, and countless eerie encounters. According to a 2020 Paranormal study, nearly 1/4 of reported ghost sightings on roads involve phantom hitchhikers, figures who accept rides only to vanish before reaching their destinations. And while skeptics dismiss these tales as tricks of the mind, countless drivers swear by their experiences, unable to explain what they saw or what they felt. One of the most unsettling cases occurred in 1973 when a truck driver named James Wallace was traveling down a lonely stretch of Route 66. He picked up a young woman in a white dress who said she needed to get home. She gave him an address, spoke softly, and seemed lost in thought. But as they neared the destination, James looked over and found nothing. The seat was empty. The door had never opened. The woman had simply ceased to exist. When he later found the house she had mentioned, an elderly couple answered the door and revealed something chilling. Their daughter had died in a car accident on that very road 10 years prior. Could these encounters be the echoes of restless spirits? The residual energy of unfinished stories? Or is there something even darker lurking on our highways? Tonight, we dive into the legend of the vanishing hitchhiker, a mystery that defies logic, chills the soul, and might just make you think twice before stopping for a stranger in the dead of night. The Vanishing Hitchhiker is not just another ghost story whispered around campfires. It's a legend that has stood the test of time, transcending generations, cultures, and even technological advancements. Unlike other ghostly encounters that seem confined to haunted houses or ancient burial grounds, this phenomenon plays out on the open road, on highways, back roads, and forgotten stretches of asphalt where reality bends and the unexplained thrives. But what is it about this particular legend that continues to grip our imaginations? Perhaps it's the sheer uncanniness of it. The idea that you could pick up a stranger, exchange words, share a moment, and then suddenly they're gone. No sound. No explanation, no logical way to process what just happened. The world feels solid beneath our feet until, in a single instant, the fabric of reality seems to unravel, leaving behind only questions and fear. Some say these encounters are nothing more than hallucinations brought on by fatigue, our brains playing tricks in the dim glow of headlights. Others insist these hitchhikers are residual spirits trapped in time, endlessly replaying the final moments before their tragic deaths. But regardless of what you believe, one thing is certain: stories of vanishing hitchhikers have been documented for centuries, and they show no signs of fading away. Believe it or not, tales of spectral travelers date back to ancient times. Some of the earliest written accounts come from medieval Europe, where stories were told of weary travelers encountering wandering spirits along desolate roads. These figures would often ask for assistance, a warm meal, a place to stay, or even safe passage, only to vanish into thin air before reaching their destination. One of the earliest recorded cases appeared in the 1600s in Sweden, where it was said that a young woman dressed in white would appear on stormy nights near a secluded bridge. Travelers who offered her shelter or assistance would later realize she had left no footprints in the mud, nor had she cast a shadow in the candlelight. Many believed she was the spirit of a woman who had drowned in the river below, forever trapped between worlds. As time passed, these legends evolved, finding their way into American folklore during the 19th and 20th centuries, when automobile travel became widespread. With the rise of automobiles, hitchhiking became common, and suddenly ghostly travelers were no longer just standing by the roadside. They were getting into cars, speaking to drivers, and disappearing without a trace. One of the most famous and chilling examples of this comes from Hawaii, where local legends tell of the goddess Pele appearing as an elderly woman or a beautiful young girl along roads near volcanic regions. According to Hawaiian folklore, if you offer her a ride and she disappears, it is a sign of great respect, but if you refuse, misfortune may follow. This pattern repeats across different cultures, different continents, and different roads, yet the core elements of the story remain eerily similar. A traveler is seen waiting by the roadside. A driver offers them a ride. They provide a name, a destination, or remain silent. Before arriving, the traveler vanishes, leaving behind confusion, fear, and sometimes a deeper mystery. So, why does this particular legend endure? What is it about vanishing hitchhikers that captivates us, unsettles us, and makes us hesitate before stopping for a stranger in the dead of night? One possibility is that it speaks to our primal fear of the unknown. Roads and highways, especially at night, represent a liminal space, a place between destinations, between safety and danger. A traveler, whether living or spectral, represents something unpredictable. Who are they? What do they want? Are they real? Another theory suggests that these stories tap into our fear of being alone. Many drivers who claim to have picked up a vanishing hitchhiker report the same overwhelming sense of isolation after the figure disappears, as if they were not only left with an empty seat, but also with an unshakable sense that they had been touched by something unnatural. From a psychological perspective, some experts believe the legend endures because it serves as a cautionary tale, warning us about the dangers of the road, the perils of picking up strangers, and the thin veil between life and death. Others argue that these stories stem from deep-seated collective trauma, where spirits of the past refuse to be forgotten and instead manifest in ways that force us to acknowledge them. But there's another possibility, one that is far more chilling. What if these encounters aren't just folklore? What if some of these vanishing hitchhikers are not hallucinations, are not figments of the imagination, but something real? Over the years, countless eyewitness reports, police statements, and even dashcam footage have emerged, making it harder to dismiss these tales as mere superstition. Could these ghostly travelers be lost souls still searching for a way home? Or are they something much darker, entities that feed on human fear, lurking in the shadows of our highways, waiting for the perfect moment to slip into the back seat of an unsuspecting traveler? Stay with me as we explore some of the most terrifying real-life encounters with vanishing hitchhikers. Stories so chilling they'll make you think twice about stopping for a stranger. If there's one thing that unites all vanishing hitchhiker stories, it's the chilling sense of unease they leave behind. These encounters are not simply strange, they are deeply unsettling, leaving those who experience them questioning not only what they saw, but what reality itself means. Imagine driving down a dark, lonely highway in the dead of night, your headlights cut through the fog, illuminating nothing but an endless stretch of road ahead. The world feels still, almost unnatural in its silence. Then up ahead you see a figure standing by the roadside, a lone hitchhiker. They look ordinary enough, perhaps a young woman in a white dress or a man wearing a dark coat. They seem lost, desperate, maybe even cold. Something inside you tells you to keep driving, but another part of you, the compassionate part, tells you to stop. You slow down, roll down the window and ask where they're going. They reply in a soft, almost distant voice. There's something off, something you can't quite place, but you push the feeling aside and let them in. As you drive, the conversation is minimal. Maybe they speak in short, quiet sentences. Maybe they don't speak at all. But then something changes. Perhaps you look away for just a moment, glancing at the road sign, adjusting the rearview mirror, and when you turn back, they're gone. No sound, no movement, just an empty seat. The car is locked, the door never opened. They simply cease to exist. A chill crawls up your spine. Your hands tighten on the wheel. Your heart races as you try to make sense of what just happened. And then, as if the universe itself is mocking you, you notice something, a single item left behind, a scarf, a notebook, a piece of jewelry, something that shouldn't be there, something that proves you weren't just imagining things. It's at this moment that the fear truly sets in. Did you just have a paranormal encounter, or is there something else at work? something darker. For those who have experienced a vanishing hitchhiker firsthand, the fear isn't just in the disappearance itself, it's in the lingering questions that follow. Who or what was that person? Did I just witness a ghost? A spirit? A trapped soul? Was I chosen? If so, why me? What if I had ignored them? Would something worse have happened? What does this mean? And what happens next? These questions haunt people for weeks, months, even years. Some spend a lifetime trying to understand their experience, digging into history, searching for similar encounters, and desperately trying to find closure that may never come. One of the most terrifying aspects of these stories is how real they feel. Unlike traditional ghost stories, which often involve haunted houses or spirits appearing in predictable locations, the vanishing hitchhiker could appear anywhere. Any road, any town, any car. You don't have to go looking for the supernatural, it finds you. Though every vanishing hitchhiker story is unique, there are eerie patterns that emerge. The hitchhiker is often young and dressed in a distinct way. Many reports describe a young woman in white, sometimes wearing old-fashioned clothing. Others claim to see a military officer, a man in tattered clothes, or an elderly figure. They seem strangely detached or lost in thought. Some hitchhikers barely speak, as if their mind is elsewhere. Others ask odd or cryptic questions, as though they're searching for something. They often request a ride to a specific destination. The location is often a house, a graveyard, or a bridge. In many cases, the driver learns later that the destination has deep significance to the spirit, a place tied to their untimely death. They disappear without any logical explanation. Some vanish mid-conversation, as if they were never there. Others seem to fade out gradually, as if dissolving into thin air. A few are seen stepping out of the car, only to vanish before they take another step. The driver later learns a terrifying truth. Some find out the hitchhiker was someone who died years ago in a tragic accident. Others discover their passenger matched the description of someone long deceased, down to the exact clothing they wore on the night of their death. These patterns repeat across time, locations, and cultures, reinforcing the eerie mystery of these encounters. Imagine living through such an event. How would you feel? How would you explain it? Many people who have had such experiences report an overwhelming sense of dread, a feeling that something is deeply unnatural about what they just witnessed. Confusion, the mind trying to grasp at a logical explanation where none exists. Paranoia, the sense that they have been marked or chosen for some unknown reason. Obsession, the need to understand what happened, leading them to research similar stories, return to the location, or even reach out to paranormal investigators. Some people refuse to talk about their experience, fearing they will be labeled as insane. Others become obsessed, unable to shake the feeling that what they encountered was not just a ghost, but something more sinister. Because the scariest thing about the vanishing hitchhiker isn't just that they disappear. It's that they appear at all. They interact with the world. They speak, they take up space, they sit in your car right next to you. They seem real until they aren't. And that begs the question, if they can exist in our reality for even a brief moment, what else is lurking just beyond our perception, waiting for the right moment to step into our world? Stay with me as we dive into real-life reports of vanishing hitchhikers, cases backed by eyewitnesses, police reports, and even documented historical records that suggest these stories are more than just urban legends. Because as you'll soon see, sometimes the dead don't stay buried, and sometimes they just need a ride. Throughout history, stories of vanishing hitchhikers have been reported across the globe, each with eerie similarities despite being separated by vast distances. While some dismiss them as urban legends, others, especially those who have lived through them, insist that these encounters are real. In this section, we'll explore some of the most famous and chilling real-life vanishing hitchhiker cases, examining common themes, possible explanations, and the deep psychological impact they leave behind. One of the most infamous vanishing hitchhiker stories originates from Chicago, Illinois, where a young woman named Mary is said to haunt Archer Avenue near Resurrection Cemetery. According to numerous reports dating back to the 1930s, a young woman with blonde hair and piercing blue eyes has been spotted wandering near the cemetery late at night. She is usually dressed in a white dress, looking lost or in distress. Drivers who stop to help her say she asks for a ride home, giving them an address not too far away. As they drive, she speaks very little, and some say she seems strangely cold to the touch. Just as they approach the cemetery, she suddenly vanishes from the vehicle without a trace. When confused and frightened drivers go to the address she provided, they are met with an even more chilling revelation. The residents have never heard of her, or worse. They inform the driver that a girl matching that exact description died in a car accident years ago, and she was buried at Resurrection Cemetery. To this day, there are hundreds of reported sightings of Resurrection Mary, and some drivers refuse to travel Archer Avenue at night out of fear of picking up a passenger who isn't really there. In Kent, England, a ghostly bride is said to haunt the roads of Bluebell Hill, terrifying motorists with her unexplained appearances and disappearances. In 1965, a young woman named Suzanne Brown was killed in a tragic car accident just one day before her wedding. Since then, numerous drivers have reported picking up a young woman wearing a wedding dress along Bluebell Hill. She asks for a ride home but vanishes before reaching the destination. In some cases, she steps out of the car only to disappear right before the driver's eye. Others claim to see a bride standing in the middle of the road, and when they swerve to avoid her, she disappears instantly. Even stranger, some motorists report feeling the impact of hitting a person only to stop and find nothing there. Local police have received dozens of reports over the years, but no logical explanation has ever been found. Another spine-chilling case comes from Rehoboth, Massachusetts, along Route 44, where a ghostly hitchhiker in old-fashioned clothing has been terrifying drivers for years. Reports of this ghostly soldier go back decades, with truck drivers, late-night travelers, and even police officers claiming to have seen him. He appears wearing an old coat and work boots, standing near the road with a disturbingly blank expression. If a driver stops to pick him up, he remains silent or gives vague responses. Then, without warning, he vanishes from the car. Even those who don't stop to pick him up report seeing his ghostly figure in their rearview mirror, only to look back and find nothing there. Some believe he is the spirit of a World War II soldier who died in an accident on that road, forever trapped in time, searching for a way home. In Hawaii, travelers claim to see ghostly warriors marching along the highways, spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors known as the Night Marchers. They appear in full battle armor, carrying weapons. Some claim they have seen them walking right through cars. Drivers who attempt to stop or call out to them feel an overwhelming sense of dread and fear, as if they are being watched by something powerful and otherworldly. In Mexico, tales of La Dama de Rojo, the Lady in Red, have been circulating for decades. She is said to appear on deserted highways, asking for a ride. Those who pick her up report that she seems sad but beautiful, speaking in whispers. At some point, she vanishes without a trace, often leaving behind a red scarf or an old faded photograph of herself. In some versions, she is believed to be the ghost of a woman who was murdered on her wedding night, forever wandering the roads in search of someone who can bring her justice. Across cultures, vanishing hitchhikers share common elements. The hitchhiker is often a spirit of someone who died tragically. Car accidents, murders, or sudden deaths are common backstories. Many appear on the anniversary of their death, as if reliving their final moments. The hitchhiker always seeks a ride to a specific location. This could be a home, a graveyard, or the place where they died. They vanish before reaching their destination, as if trapped in a cycle they cannot escape. They often leave behind a physical object. Items like scarves, jackets, or jewelry are sometimes found in the car after they disappear. In rare cases, drivers claim to find an old newspaper clipping about the person's death in the back seat. They evoke an unnatural sense of dread. Many witnesses report an intense, gut-wrenching fear just before the hitchhiker vanishes. Some claim their car feels unnaturally cold, or that the radio suddenly plays static or eerie music. While some believe these encounters are real supernatural events, others suggest psychological explanations. Survivors' guilt and tragedy. Many of these roads are sites of fatal accidents. Some people believe these stories are a way for communities to cope with tragic deaths. the power of suggestion. If a road is rumored to be haunted, drivers may subconsciously expect to see something, turning shadows or distant figures into ghostly apparitions. Sleep deprivation and stress. Many encounters happen at night when tired minds are more prone to hallucinations and misinterpretations. However, even the most skeptical investigators admit, not all of these stories can be explained. Stay with us as we uncover the darkest mysteries behind the vanishing hitchhiker phenomenon. There's one case that stands out above the rest. A story so chilling that even hardened skeptics struggle to explain it. It happened on Highway 87, a long, desolate road that cuts through the Arizona desert, a place where ghost stories are whispered among truckers and late-night travelers. It was a cold October night, just past midnight. Tom Jenkins, a long-haul trucker, had been on the road for nearly 10 hours. He had driven this route many times before, but something about this particular night felt off. The desert was eerily silent, the only sound coming from the hum of his engine. There were no other cars, no signs of life, just an endless stretch of road under the glow of a full moon. That's when he saw her. A young woman stood by the side of the road, dressed in an old-fashioned blue dress, her long dark hair falling past her shoulders. She wasn't waving for help, just standing still, staring at the passing trucks as if waiting for something or someone. Tom had always been a good Samaritan, so he pulled over. The girl walked to the truck's passenger side, her movements slow and deliberate. When she climbed into the cab, he felt an unexplainable chill fill the air. She never introduced herself. Young woman, VO? You should be careful tonight. There's going to be an accident. Tom glanced at her, puzzled. Tom, VO. What do you mean? She didn't answer. She just kept staring straight ahead, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Tom tried making small talk, asking where she was headed. She muttered a vague response, something about needing to get home. When he asked for the exact location, she whispered, "Young woman, VO, just past the bend, near the bridge." Tom knew the spot she was talking about. There was a small bridge about 10 miles ahead, notorious for accidents. Something about her voice sent a shiver down his spine. But when he turned to look at her again, she was gone. Vanished. The seatbelt was still buckled, and the faint scent of lavender lingered in the air, but the girl was nowhere to be seen. Shaken, Tom slammed on his brakes and pulled over, his hands trembling. His mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. Then his radio crackled to life. "Trucker, VO, Jesus Christ! There's been an accident up ahead. A car went off the bridge. Total wreck!" Tom's blood ran cold. It had happened, just like she said. When he finally reached the scene, emergency vehicles were already there. He hesitated before getting out of his truck, but what he saw next nearly made his heart stop. The wrecked car was the same shade of blue as the girl's dress. Inside was a woman, dead on impact. And when they pulled her body from the wreckage, Tom's stomach dropped. It was her. The same girl who had been in his passenger seat just minutes before. She had died before she ever got into his truck. Tom never fully recovered from that night. Some say she was a ghost, reliving the final moments of her life, destined to warn travelers of her fate. Others believe she was a guardian spirit, trying to protect those on the road from sharing her tragic end. But some wonder, was she really gone? Because every year on the anniversary of her death, truckers report seeing a woman in blue standing near that bridge, waiting for another ride that will never truly take her home. This case embodies the essence of the vanishing hitchhiker phenomenon. A lone traveler picks up a mysterious passenger, only for them to vanish without explanation. A cryptic warning is given, suggesting a connection between the hitchhiker and the supernatural. The driver later discovers that the person they picked up was already dead, leaving them questioning reality itself. This legend continues to haunt truckers, late-night travelers, and paranormal investigators. To this day, many refuse to stop near that bridge, terrified of picking up a passenger who isn't really there. So, as we near the end of this chilling journey, let's take a step back and reflect on what we've uncovered. The vanishing hitchhiker phenomenon is more than just an urban legend. It's a tale that blurs the line between folklore and reality, leaving us with more questions than answers. The vanishing hitchhiker legend endures because it speaks to something deeply ingrained in our psyche, our fascination with the unknown. It is a story that plays on the idea that ghosts can interact with the living is unsettling. These aren't distant spirits lurking in haunted houses. They are on our roads, in our cars, and whispering warnings in our ears. The road represents freedom but also uncertainty. Late-night drives, deserted highways, and isolated routes set the stage for encounters with the unexplained. While some dismiss these stories as hallucinations or psychological projections, others claim their experiences were too vivid, too real to be brushed aside. Could they be echoes of past tragedies? Or do they point to something beyond our understanding? As we conclude this deep dive into one of the most chilling urban legends of all time, we still face the ultimate question. Are vanishing hitchhikers real? Or are they a mix of psychology, fear, and misperception? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain. The road at night is a place of mystery, fear, and stories that refuse to die. So the next time you're driving alone, and you see a figure standing by the side of the road, will you stop, or will you keep driving before it's too late? Stay tuned for more if you dare. Now that we've explored the eerie world of vanishing hitchhikers, we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, theories, or even your own chilling stories in the comments below. Who knows, your experience might be featured in a future video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most haunting urban legends, be sure to check out my other videos on ghostly encounters, haunted highways, and unsolved mysteries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new mystery, because sometimes the scariest stories aren't just stories. See you in the next one, if you dare.